everyone, welcome back to my fragrance channel. I'm going to be talking about some Montale fragrances that I recently purchased. I've actually never tried anything from this house before. So I've owned these bottles for, I want to say like 3 weeks now. I've had plenty of time to really get to know them, to wear them, and I thought now is the time to do a proper review. Aoud Cuir dArabie and Black Aoud. But these are both quite different, and I think, you know, you can definitely wear them on their own, but honestly, together, these two together are absolutely magical if you like oriental fragrances. If you like strong orientals, the Black Aoud is, now it says on their website, it says that it's made for men. I always think you can just wear whatever you want, whenever you want, but I feel like this is leaning quite feminine. This one, the Aoud Cuir dArabie, is a little bit more going in the masculine. Well, it's definitely going more in the masculine direction. So let's start off with the first one. So Black Aoud is the one that I think a lot of people are going to be familiar with from Montale. It is, I think, one of his more popular ones. This one contains Cambodian oud, Indonesian patchouli, musk, mandarin orange, rose, labdanum, and sandalwood. To put it very basically, this is a rose and oud combination. Now, this is not something absolutely groundbreaking, but I do feel like this is a really good offering if you enjoy rose ouds. And I know they've been kind of done to death and there are a million out there, but I do really like this one because it's actually quite heavy on the rose. This is, I think, a very feminine leaning masculine perfume, if that makes sense. So this is geared towards men. I think it is totally unisex. The rose in here is quite strong. I feel like this is such a deep, dark, intense rose. This is a rose oud combo, but I feel like the emphasis is really placed on this rose, and the rose is very dark. I feel like the oud in here just supports the rose and makes it deeper and darker and more intense. When I think of this and I try to picture the flower in my head of a rose, I don't think of like a beautiful bridally pink rose. I don't think of like a fresh spring rose. I think of this sort of gothic smelling, deep, dark, velvety, burgundy colored, very dark red rose, almost kind of burnt around the edges, but it just smells super rich and intense, very gothic-like. It kind of reminds me of something like church vibes. So I definitely can smell oud in here, but I don't feel like the oud is animalic in this one. I can definitely smell also the musk in here. So it's like musky, oud and rose, so that kind of does make it obviously a little bit animalic because, you know, musk and oud can go in that direction, but I don't feel like this is a super animalic, heavy, like sweaty smelling perfume. You know, sometimes they go in that direction. This would be so great if you were in the like into the gothic scene. This would be absolutely perfect. But I think just generally, if you like rose fragrances, then you would just maybe really enjoy this if you like sort of more pungent, deep, intense roses. So I don't think it's super challenging to wear. It is very intense. It has very good performance, beast-like performance. Like this definitely lasts and lasts and lasts. I get very good projection on this for like half the day, I want to say, and then it does sit maybe a little bit closer to your skin, but if you smell your arm or wherever you spray it, you will definitely still smell it. What I've also noticed is that when you spray this one, especially the Black Aoud, you almost get a little bit of this oily residue on your skin, so you'll actually see where you've applied the perfume. So if you are wearing like a nice white crisp shirt or something, I would definitely apply this before you put your clothes on. All right, and the other one I picked up from Montale is Aoud Cuir dArabie. Basically, it translates oud Arabian leather. So this is a leather fragrance. This is targeted to men. This is not a feminine scent by any means. I actually really enjoy leather fragrances, and I often feel like the leather offerings for women are so tame and so pulled back that I feel like they're just very boring, and I can almost not even really smell the leather. So I like leather fragrances for men because they're a little bit more bold and you can usually smell leather quite strongly. This one is definitely going more in the animalic direction. So if you do not like animalic scents, if you don't like anything that's a little bit more challenging, then I would probably steer clear of this because it is kind of going in that direction. I don't find it's unwearable animalic. You know, there are some fragrances that are just so animalic that they're interesting to smell, but like, would you really want to go around wearing them? Probably not. I don't really feel like this one goes in that category. I've seen some reviews on this from people saying, oh my God, this is like so barnyardy. I have to say I disagree with that. So the notes in here are tobacco, leather, birch tar, and oud. The main note I get in here really is this Arabian type of leather, Maghreb region leather. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know, have any of you guys ever gone to the Maghreb area where they create leather goods? Like, I have gone to Morocco, and when I was in Morocco, I went to a leather market, or just like the market in Marrakesh, and we just walked around the Medina and they had all these leather goods for sale. And I know a lot of the leather that comes from Morocco, it's made in Fez. And in Fez, they have these very traditional tanneries where they still make leather goods in the very old traditional ways, and they use these big vats filled with very pungent chemicals, and some of these chemicals are made from like the excrement of animals. Now I'm going into details about this because the leather is then that's created in these places smells very different than the leather that you find here in Europe. So like the European leather that you go here in a store, it just smells very smooth, like it kind of smells like that leather sofa type of vibe, versus the leather in these Middle Eastern countries often has, I mean, I'm not saying everywhere, but definitely the one that I smelled in Morocco has this very traditional way of making it, and so it smells very different. And sometimes it can be very pungent. Like when I was walking through the market in Marrakesh, like I could just smell dead animals, and it was the most visceral reaction I've ever had, because I could see, you know, handbags and belts and shoes and stuff hanging there, and I could actually smell like that they were coming from dead animals. And that's often sometimes a connection that we don't make. We just think, oh, it's a nice leather handbag. It's like, no, that was actually a living animal at one point. This perfume has captured that very perfectly. It has that pungency to it, that richness. It reminds you of walking through a market in the Medina. So that's what gives it that animalic vibe. But I don't really find this to be a fecal animalic scent. So some scents, like some animalic, they really just go into that like poop smelling genre, and I honestly don't feel like that this one does that. It's just super dry. That's the other thing. They give this very dry feeling. There's nothing sweet about this. Like there's no citrus in here, there's no floral notes, there's no sweetness, there's nothing really to take the edge off this fragrance. So I feel like this fragrance feels very kind of rough around the edges. This is not a like super elegant, like refined, very gentlemanly or ladylike scent. It's quite rough and just like, here I am, you know, kind of in your face. Personally, I don't find it that super challenging to wear. I have more challenging perfumes in my collection. So if you're a fan of something like Dior Leather Oud, if you like Dior Leather Oud, you might really enjoy this. So I actually bought these two separately with no intention of wearing them together. I had this on first, which is the Black Oud. I think I did 2 to 1. So I did 2 sprays of the Black Oud, and then I did 1 spray of the Aoud Cuir dArabie. So this is gonna be very concentrated now in that spot, but these two together, wow, these two together are an absolute dream. I've always kind of been looking for that deep, dark, intense, rich, oudy rose that's slightly going into the animalic direction. I love these two. I mean, I wear them individually. I wear this, you know, the rose one, and if I want just more of a sort of beautiful rose, I'll just wear this. And I have worn the leather by itself, but honestly, together, these two fragrances together are just spectacular. Honestly, I wish like this perfume existed just as one. Although, I mean, now that I have both, like that's kind of cool because now I can get 3 different scents. I can wear them each on their own, but I can combine them, and they're so good together. Like the sweetness of the rose, because the rose is kind of a little bit sweet, not sugary sweet, but it just feels like it's a rose that's really in bloom, you know? It feels like really rich. But then you get this slight dirtiness from this very animalic leather. You have the oud that's intensified, because both of these do have oud in them, but together the oud is intensified somewhat. You just get this beautiful rose, this gothic rose on the one hand with these musky and patchouli elements, and then you get this skanky leather mixed in. Honestly, together, this is the best like oriental smelling fragrance for me, because it just takes it to the next level. If I could explain what I feel like when I wear this, like this gives me dominatrix vibes. Like that's kind of what I imagine, is this crazy gothic dark red rose in this chamber of tortures and ecstasy, and like, you know, candles are lit in the back, and then you have these leather whips and stuff in the back that come from this very rough leather that, you know, she uses to like torture her clients and stuff. And that's kind of the vibe this gives me. If you're a guy and you have black oud and you maybe find this like a little bit too rosy and just a little bit too floral, you should try it with the Aoud Cuir dArabie and combine these two, because this to me is an absolute winning combination. Like I love layering fragrances, and of all the fragrance I layer, this honestly is my favorite combination at the moment, or not even just at the moment. I think this is the best combination, because together, I feel like this could be a fragrance in itself. The only thing that I really do not like about this brand in general is the packaging. It's awkward to hold it like this. Sometimes the spray will just go in the wrong direction. I really don't like this thing. It feels cheap. I don't know. It feels very cheap. Like it just reminds me of something you would find at the drugstore, like a cheap, like a deodorant or something, like a spray deodorant. I really don't like the bottles. Some people say that they don't like Montale because they are very synthetic. I personally, when I wear these, like, yes, I know there are probably like is synthetic elements in here. I don't really get that crazy synthetic vibe when I wear these, especially when I combine these two. They do not feel synthetic on me. I would also love to know if you have discovered any really, really good combinations that you feel are standalone perfume creations. Like honestly, I kind of wish that he had combined this and had just called it Black Oud. Although this is called Black Oud, I don't feel like it's black enough. Like this should have been, I feel like this should have been called Red Oud because of the rose, and the rose is very strong in here. So I feel like now when you add this with the leather in, that's what makes it really deep and black. Also, let me know if you try this combination. You can tag me on Instagram or on Twitter, and I would love to know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye.